Hello everyone, I'm Ian, and today I'm going to be going over something I'm really excited for, and that is the Sony A7000, aka the next crop sensor mirrorless camera from Sony. This thing has been long awaited. First it was back in late 2018 when it was supposed to be released. Now it's first quarter 2019 as we didn't see it at CES after that boring Sony event, so hopefully we see it soon. Anyways, if you guys have been on my channel for any time, you probably know that I've done a video like this before, and just like that one, none of this is set in stone. Don't trust me, don't trust anyone. Right now no one knows. This is just all talk and speculation. Just wait for Sony comes out with their actual confirmation about the camera before you trust anyone about this. Reason I do these videos is because I'm kind of a camera nerd, and I'm sure a lot of you guys are too if you clicked on this video. So I like talking about it, and I know a lot of you guys like talking about it too, so that's why I do these videos. I hope you guys enjoy Sony crop sensor mirrorless camera 2019. Let's get right into it. I'm going to go over the specs and exactly what the heck they mean, so I'm not just blurting out numbers. And then I'm going to go over the problems with the A6500, which is what I am shooting on right now. And finally, I'm going to talk about if this is going to be your next camera. A lot of people like upgrading their gear, like myself. I know the troubles. I think there should be a camera gear anonymous. It can be hard. Starting off with the specs here. So these are the rumored specs. These are the ones that have been going around the internet recently. And starting off with the most important thing, which is the image sensor, which is a 32 megapixel CMOS sensor. Crop sensor, 32 megapixels. That's pretty crazy. Most crop sensor cameras these days are 24, and that's because there's a sweet spot, in my opinion, and in a lot of people's opinion, obviously, between resolution and camera sensor size. So basically, for one sensor, if you have more megapixels, each pixel is going to be smaller because there's more of them shoved into the same amount of space. The A7R III has 42 megapixels, the Sony A7 III has 24. And what this does by having smaller pixels and more megapixels is end up giving you less light hitting the sensor and, well, less low light performance. Think about the A7R III and the A7 III once again. The A7 III has much better low light performance because there's only 24 megapixels crammed into that huge sensor, whereas there's 42 crammed into that huge A7R III sensor, but they're the same size sensor. So A7 III has better low light capabilities just because each pixel is bigger. That's why I'm thinking that it's 32 megapixels on a crop sensor camera. I don't know, I just hope it doesn't suffer in low light. Hopefully Sony knows what they're doing. Next up is a new ultra-fast LSI along with a new Bionz X image processor, and basically what this is the brains of the camera. Pretty much all the processing power inside of your camera, between menus, how fast it turns on, all the specs that I'm about to list here, that's what is powering them. It does everything from noise reduction in JPEG files as well as video, some in RAW but not too much as well as RAW, as well as adding the new color science from Sony as they get upgraded every year. And the A6500s is all the way back from 2016, so that new color science will be pretty darn impressive. But it's pretty much just the brains of your camera and how fast it is. Next up is 925 phase detection autofocus points, and that's just insane. That's a lot of autofocus points. A6500 has 425, and it's already got really good autofocus. I have the f1.8 50mm OSS Sony native lens on there, but the autofocus on this camera is still amazing. Having over double is kind of crazy. I don't know if that's just my thinking, but you can't go wrong with more autofocus points, I guess, really. Next up, 10 frames per second at 16-bit with the mechanical shutter, 20 frames per second at 14-bit with the electronic shutter, and 30 frames per second at 12-bit with whatever the heck this means. Yeah, you guys can tell me down in the comments. I don't know, I'm not gonna lie. But anyways, that's a lot of frames per second. That's basically shooting video at the max resolution on this camera, a 4K 30, but shooting 12-bit photos. That's how much more power this camera is going to have. That is pretty insane for anyone shooting wildlife, sports, maybe even portraits or things, anything that's moving. That's going to be very helpful. And to go along with that, they're introducing blackout free shooting, which is pretty much in between photos. It won't black out. Like if you're shooting on a DSLR camera with the viewfinder, this is impossible because there's a bloody mirror coming down in front of the sensor. You just can't see when it comes down. But on mirrorless cameras, there's no mirror, hence the name. So you can shoot blackout free if they allow it. With this new processor in the A7000, it is able to do that. So that will be amazing. Just for tracking subjects, moving things, you don't have to guess by the last photo where they're moving to, because you'll be able to see it. So that is great to have. Next up is electronic shutter speeds up to 1/32,000th of a second. Yes, 1/32,000th of a second. I did not say that wrong. That is not a speako. I made that up. Having that sort of speed is just crazy. This one, my A6500, shoots up to 1/4000th of a second. The A7 III shoots up to 1/8000th. That's just like the normal standard because you're only ever going to shoot hummingbirds maybe at that speed to get no motion blur. But 1/32,000th of a second. Heck, you won't even need ND filters, man. That's just so fast. But anyways, I know that you still will need ND filters. I do understand shutter speeds and that. I was just kidding, just so I don't get roasted in the comment. But anyways, that's just really fast. That just goes to show how much image processing power this camera will have. Next up, which is also fast, 4K 60p video, 10-bit, Super 35. That is amazing. No crop, 60 frames per second, and 10-bit, so you can push those colors in your color grading and color correction. Boom! That's one thing I'm really excited about with this camera. Next up, 4K 24, 10-bit, 241 video, WDR. That's pretty cool. Lots of dynamic range there. 10-bit, 241. The colors, I think I'm still learning all this stuff, so don't roast me too much. WDR, I'm not sure what that means. I'm gonna have to Google it. I'll put it down in the description. It means good stuff for video shooters. Next up, ISO from 64 to 64,000. That's a pretty big increase from the 100 to 25,600 on the A6500. Hopefully with that new image processor, they will be able to keep the noise levels down because the A7 III already works wonders, and hopefully they add the same sort of image processor. Last but not least, it'll go up in weight from 453 grams to around 580. So hopefully it'll still work on your gimbals for the smaller mirrorless cameras because it's still not that heavy. But the reason that it is going up in weight is because they are going to adopt a new style like the A7 and A9 style with the EVF in the center rather than the rangefinder style like the A6000 series. And here's my guess. This is kind of out there, kind of crazy, but who knows? Maybe I'll be right. I'm thinking that there's going to be 2 crop sensor mirrorless cameras from Sony, maybe even 3, but probably 2, which is what I'm going to go over right now. And that's because I'm thinking the A7000 is a new line of cameras from Sony for crop sensors. They said in a press conference, quote unquote, that there is room in the market for professional APS-C cameras and they do want to make one, hence the A7000. But with this new style, what the heck's going to happen to this ultra portable A6000 series? And my guess is that it's going to blend with the A5000 series. They're going to have a baby and it's going to have a flip out screen and it's going to be like a rangefinder style still. And then there'll also be the professional A7000 series with all these high-end features without the flip out screen, which is what I'm really pooped about. But I hope I'm wrong. I hope I eat my words on that one, but I almost feel like the A6000 series is going to retain the rangefinder style as well as get a flip out screen and some minor upgrades, not as much as the professional A7000 with a new body. Probably no flip out screen. That's just my thinking. Hopefully I'm wrong. Everybody hope I'm wrong. Get your fingers crossed that I'm wrong on that one. Moving on to the next thing that I'm going to be going over, part 2, is the problems with the A6500, and I wrote these down really fast, like too fast. I was worried. I was just like, I don't like this, I don't like this, I don't like this. That's what I want to talk about right now. There's 3 things that I like about cameras, 3 things that are important to me about cameras. 1, image quality. 2, features. And 3, ease of use. The Sony A6500 nails image quality, it nails features, and it absolutely sucks when it comes to ease of use. That is what I don't like about it, and that is why I'm thinking about upgrading. To start off here, let me just start spewing all these things I don't like. Terrible screen with no flipping. Small batteries that die really fast. Mushy 1080p video, no weather sealing, no mic jack. Bad menus, no joystick, 4K 30p crop, horrible battery play, horrible record button placement, and horrible SD card placement, as well as things like rolling shutter and an old color science. All those things are problems, as well as the bit rates. I know they aren't too much of a problem, but it is downsampling 6K to 4K, and it's only 100 megabits per second, so when they move up to 4K 60, they better increase those bit rates and maybe even implement some new codecs. I just wanted to get that out of the way because those are important things when you're shooting. They just can't. I know that the bit rate isn't the end-all be-all for image quality. I don't want to get that confused with anyone. The bit rate is not the end-all be-all for video quality, but it is also how much information and how much data is being stored in each video file. So I kind of feel like that is important, have enough, especially when you're going up to these high frame rate, high resolution combos like 4K at 60 frames per second, especially with no crop. So with all that out of the way, should you upgrade to this camera? Am I upgrading to this camera? Could this be your next camera? Let's go over that right now. So I thought the best way to do this is to compare it to similar cameras that people like myself, like people who are looking into Sony cameras may think about. And that is the Sony A7 III, because that thing is crazy for the price. You get a full frame camera, and that's what I want to talk about right now. So my thinking is that the A7 III has basically taken what was wrong with the A6500, corrected it, and then just moved all the features that the A6500 has up to full frame, and we have the A7 III at a $2,000 price. Really good camera, and that's where I'm like, what the heck is Sony gonna do now to get the A7000 to be good? And that's where all these new things come out, like the 10-bit 4K 60p. That's where these are coming from to actually make people want the A7000. That's the problem that I'm seeing. Like, what can they do? Because why else would you buy? Why would you spend $1,500 on a crop sensor camera if you could spend $2,000 and get a full frame with all the same features, but full frame? Like, people like full frame. Full frame is beautiful. But anyways, that's my thinking. So that's why they added all these new things. And that's where we have to really think about this, because there's cameras like the Fuji X-T3, 26 megapixel sensor, 4K 60p, 10-bit internal, 120 frames per second with 200 megabits per second, so a much higher bit rate, Fuji color mic port, up to 30 frames per second, shooting speeds for photos, good screen, but no flip out screen and no in-body image stabilization. And I think this is where Sony, like in Brooklyn Nine-Nine, I've been binge watching it, Sony's gonna swoop in like the vulture, take all the features of the X-T3, cram it into their own body, call it a professional APS-C camera, but add those things that it's missing, or at least in-body image stabilization for sure, and possibly a flip out screen. And that's just going to have everyone in wow, because it'll be these new things in a crop sensor camera with in-body image stabilization. The bridge between full frame and APS-C. Where do you draw the line? Where is it that you actually feel the need to go to full frame rather than crop sensor? And this is what I think a lot of people are going to have to ask themselves. And that's why I'm making this part of the video right here. So, if you're thinking about upgrading, if you have an A6500, if you have no camera and you're just thinking about buying one, here's my thinking. If you know what the heck I'm talking about when I say 10-bit, 4K 60p, 30 frames per second shooting, blackout free, H.265, if you know what all that means, and you want full frame, I would recommend waiting for the A7S III or the A7 IV or the A7R4, things like that, because I'm sure they will add all these features, because what else are they going to add? Those cameras are already amazing, like the A7 III, A7S II. They need to add these new video features, new photo features, and that's when they're going to add them. But if you don't want a full frame camera, you're okay with crop sensor, and you have an idea of what the heck those things mean and they seem appealing to you, maybe wait for the A7000, because you will get those things on it. You get those advanced video features for pros. But if you don't know what those things mean and you care about full frame, get something like the A7 III. Get it, like, it's a great camera, but just you don't get those new features that are slowly getting implemented into crop sensors and eventually full frame. But once again, if you don't know what those features are and you don't care about them and you don't care about full frame, just go for the A6500. You'll like it. It's a great camera. So with all that out of the way, what am I going to do? And basically right now I have no idea. I like the idea of the A7 III. It's a great camera, full frame, great price. The A7000 is basically a crop sensor version of it with all these problems with the A6500 fixed. And all these new features, but it's not full frame. And that's where, I don't know, there's just so many good things coming out in crop sensor. They're coming to full frame next, but at the same time, it's just like, where do you go? Do you go right into full frame and get not all these features? Do you wait and go into full frame, or do you go into crop sensors now that they have these new features coming out first? So that's basically where I'm sitting at. I don't know yet. I'll let you guys know as soon as I know what I'm doing. I feel like with the A7000, they're kind of like compensating for something, if you know what I mean. Like 900 phase detection, autofocus points, 30 frames per second shooting, 1/32,000th of a second max shutter speed. Like, they are compensating. They're compensating for their color science. Don't tell Canon. Anyways, guys, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I will talk to you in my next one. If you guys are excited for the A7000, you're excited about whatever the heck Sony's releasing next, please let me know down in the comments below. I'm a camera nerd. I love talking about that stuff, and I know a lot of you guys do too. If you're excited for all these new features coming in 2019 to cameras, let me know down in the comments. Let me know what you guys are excited for. I like talking about it. If you have any video ideas, let me know. And like I said, whenever I make my mind up about if I'm going to full frame or not, if I'm going to get the A7 III, wait for the A7S III, A7 IV, or if I'm going to get the A7000, I'm going to tell you guys in some upcoming videos as well as an Autel Evo review. I have it in the works right now. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I will talk to you in my next one. Like I said, let me know. Talk to me about stuff down below. I'll be happy to talk about it with you, us camera nerds. Have a great day, everyone. Happy 2019. It's going to be a big year. Have a great day, everyone, and stay creative.